Yesterday was the 4th of July and brought up some issues, some safety concerns took place during the course of my local celebrations that made me kind of stop, pause, and kind of think about some reality checks for disability versus caregiving and some safety concerns. And so today, I want to dive into something a little bit more serious. From a black background, two teal canes crossing behind a pink atom flicker on in neon light. To the right, white words stack vertically, blind over matter. The words and logo fade to black. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Couple quick disclaimers before we get started. I do not speak for all blind people. I am one blind dude. This is my experience, and part of the reason that this channel exists is so that I can make videos like this one where we're not on script, but there is a topic that I don't feel like gets a lot of coverage in the disability community, especially because my wife and I are a couple wherein I am disabled and she is not. And so there are some safety concerns that took place last night that brought some pretty serious things to the table. So today I wanted to talk about what happened yesterday, the conversations it raised for me, and maybe get some perspective of some of you in the community who may have some insight here. So to set the stage, yesterday being the 4th of July, we decided to walk down for our local celebrations, which take place in a park. That park is, I'd say, about 2 miles or so from our house by foot, especially weaving through some construction taking place downtown right now. And so I wanted to talk about kind of how everything went, and the fact that we had to weave through the construction is somewhat important for the latter half of the story. But we made our way to the park, got there probably about 45 minutes before the fireworks were supposed to start. We decided not to get any food, so we set up our blanket. I enjoyed a beer, and we just kind of took it easy on the lawn and saw a big group of kids playing around. I didn't really think much of it. In fact, I kind of commented that it was nice to see some kids running around and just kind of enjoying time together and just kind of, I don't know, enjoying the celebrations. And that took a very quick turn. And rather suddenly, and I could see a little bit of this, but just a few feet away from us, some of those kids started to throw Roman candles at each other, which I guess is something that kids do, but I cannot fathom. If I would have thrown fireworks at anybody when I was a kid, I think I would be dead. So that was crazy. And so that was kind of this first instance of like, whoa, like that was a lot. I think some police officers showed up, kind of tried to talk to some folks, kind of settle everybody down. We weren't quite sure if the situation was like actively handled or not. So that was kind of the first thing. And then just moments later, probably about, I don't know, 50 to 100 feet behind us, somebody had brought one of those big cakes of the fireworks that you're supposed to launch way up into the air. And they did not launch in the air. They launched on the ground. They detonated at ground level. And it was very, very scary. And my wife was like describing it. It kind of was happening. Again, there was some emergency personnel around, and we weren't really sure if we should, stay put or move or, how to kind of communicating with each other. And I was kind of the mindset of like whatever she thought made the most sense. I was willing to get up with her and go. I was willing to kind of stick it out and stay put, whatever made sense. And so we ended up staying, and the time that the fireworks were supposed to start came and went, and then a half hour later came and went, and nothing really happened. All of a sudden we started seeing some lightning in the sky, and there had been, the time for the fireworks had actually been pushed back due to the incoming storms, but we weren't really sure what was going on. And so we decided at that point, seeing the lightning, that because we had to walk home through the storm, that we would do that and start making our way home. Post-editing, Chris here. The other point that I wanted to make that I did not make in the other part of this is that there was no communication through the park's loudspeaker system that had been used all evening to, get the cover band going and some announcements about the sponsors and all that good stuff. There was no communication about what was going on, whether the delay was weather-related or safety-related, or as they are now claiming, like a technical glitch with the fireworks, or like what was going on at all. And so myself, my wife, and thousands of people that were there to celebrate were kind of left in the dark, very literally, and we weren't really sure what was going on. So that's another piece that I wanted to throw in because that threw another wrench into everything. So back to it we shall go. Hoping not to get caught in it, we proceeded to get caught in it, and we took shelter on a couple different occasions, got absolutely soaked. My boots got absolutely drenched, and we made it home in one piece. My wife, guiding me very diligently out of the way of all the puddles, and it was kind of madness for about 45 minutes as we made our way home. And first of all, I'm okay, she's okay, we're fine. But tonight, and we kind of started having this conversation about kind of risk assessment, and I can't see the finer details, but I knew that there was some unsafe things going on. I just wasn't sure in that moment, like, what the best call was. And she was rather anxious herself, my wife, because there was a lot going on around her. She had been tired from the day, and so we were kind of like, what would we do in the future to kind of come up with a system, with one another. Now, we've been together for, about 5.5 years or so at this point, and married for a little over a year. And so, we spend a lot of time together, but so much of that is we just walk around, we do what we're doing. And we've had some situations walking with our dog where there'll be, a person who's clearly under the influence and not doing well that is a little bit scary, and so we'll turn and walk another direction to give that person space, and we're pretty good about that. But this rapidly evolving public-facing situation was new territory for us, but it did make me think of a video that another blind creator, Molly Burke, made about being involved in a crush of people. I will link that video in the description below, because I think her account of that it's really scary. She has a guide dog, and so her experience was very different. But we were okay, but it was kind of this, well, so now it's my wife and I, but what if it's my wife and myself and a child? How are we going to come up with a system? What are we going to do? And so my first couple ideas were, things like coming up with a code word or a code phrase that just means, per my wife's perspective, like, you need to trust me, we need to leave, and I need you to follow me, no matter what arguments we may or may not have been having beforehand. This is a, red alert, right? Like a serious situation going on. And so that was my first thought of, like, that way it puts me in the headspace of, I just need to trust, that my partner is going to help me here, but also, like, what to do when we get separated. I talked about setting a designated meeting spot and then giving her a call if we ever get separated, that sort of thing. These aren't easy grounds to cover, because these aren't situations that get publicized, that get talked about, that get the space and the open forum to have this type of conversation. And so I wanted to bring it up here because I think these are things that, especially, like I said, related to, us being a couple wherein I'm disabled and my partner is not. This isn't ground that gets covered often in the internet space. So I wanted to kind of put that question to you. Do you have a system for yourself? Do you know of anyone who does something specific during these moments of uncertainty, anxiety, and potential risk? If so, what do you do? If not, what do you think? I want to know your questions, comments, queries, theories, concerns, all the rest in the comment section down below. I see it. We finally made it to 400 subscribers. I really appreciate you guys. This has been an inconsistent channel, to say the least, over the last several years, but so many of you have stuck around and have insightful things to say, and I appreciate you so much for that. So take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you soon. Peace.